Here again with my final Walking Dead Dead City Season 1 episode review video, as I was able to watch the episode early on the YouTube AMC channel. More on that later. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am and rewatching or watching The Walking Dead Dead City, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, I've covered and reviewed every episode of the main Walking Dead show. I do watch Fear the Walking Dead, although I don't do reviews of it. And I will obviously be covering anything else that they have to do with Dead City. I'll be covering the Daryl Dixon show. And I'll, of course, be covering The Walking Dead, Rick and Michonne. So if you're a fan of all that, please consider subscribing to the channel. I try to put these videos out as soon as I can. And on that note, so I intended to watch this episode at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And it never got uploaded to the AMC channel on Amazon Prime. I waited until like 5 a.m. I even checked the AMC.com site to try to watch it through there, and it was never on there. So I ended up going to bed about 5. I anticipated doing this review right away, just to have it done right away, to have anybody that's anxious to see my review, and I couldn't watch it. So I'm really fucking pissed, and I'm tired of that shit when it happens. Personally, I would much rather prefer them to put the episodes on early Sunday morning on the app, a week early, rather than, early Thursday morning. It would just be my personal preference, but I hate when they don't get put on there when they're supposed to. So that's my gripe. They need to fix that fucking problem. Anyway, aside from all that, this will be The Walking Dead Dead City Season 1, Episode 6. The title of this episode is called Doma Smo. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode, finally. And the episode title means We Are Home. We start with seeing the flare go through the air, and Negan locks eyes on Ginny because she whistles and runs up to her to give her a hug. And there's a very important scene here with a lot of emotion, and Negan tells her she can't be here. Pearlie Armstrong says he can take her back. He can take her where she needs to go. He tells her, you don't want to stay here with me. I'm not who you think I am. And then Ginny actually starts to talk finally. I want you to... And then Negan interrupts and says, no! All these months and now you want to chat? And Negan tells her that he killed her dad. Her dad is one of the people that he killed. And that's why Pearlie Armstrong is after him. I don't know if that's actually necessarily the case. I think Negan just said that so she wouldn't follow him. Because I watched the episode thing afterwards with the head of the show, Eli Jornet, I think his name is. And I think we're led to believe that actually that's not true. But I don't know for sure or not. But that was really an emotional scene because Negan gets really mad. And I didn't even say everything that he said. Anyway, he says... he just let her tag along because she had no one. You're just a debt that I had to pay. And then Ginny, of course, looks pissed because she just found out some bad news that might not be true. And then she runs off with Pearlie Armstrong. And then it's time for Pearlie and Ginny to go. And Maggie tells Negan he should get some sleep. And he says he's good. And then Maggie says what he did back there couldn't have been easy, and Maggie tells Negan about a store. Negan said he wanted to see the Statue of Liberty, and Maggie said something about wanting to see Macy's and her mom being sick and laying with her mom and becoming best friends with the real Santa Claus that she wanted when she was younger. And then Negan points at Macy's, actually, like they're by Macy's down below, and they see somebody driving down the street, and they look kind of concerned. And then we have shots of Negan and Maggie just walking. I mean, this is The Walking Dead, right? Negan asks Maggie, you were inside the sewers with Ginny. What do you think she was trying to tell me? And then Maggie says, maybe she knew you would be mad at her for coming and wanted to explain herself. And then Negan and Maggie, like Negan knows, like Maggie's full of shit, and then Maggie knows that Negan knows that she's full of shit. And Negan and Maggie start to go at it. Negan even throws Maggie to the ground, and then Negan runs away. Maggie chases after him. God damn it, Maggie, we don't have to do this. Stop. And Maggie is actually able to stab Negan right up here, not fatally or anything like that. Although they don't really show any wounds or anything later in the episode, or even right after that. You should have seen blood or something coming out. I don't think they showed any of that. And Negan actually has a knife to Maggie's throat. And, he says for her to drop her knife, so drop it. And then Negan figures out what really the plan was. Says him and Maggie together make one hell of a badass team. And she knows that, don't you? Some part of you wanted it to end this way. Don't matter how many excuses he gives her or how many apologies he offers, she can't get over what he did to Glenn. As you shouldn't. So obviously, Negan knows that what he did to Glenn is something that she's never going to forgive. But he's been trying. And even when we think Maggie's ready to, you know what, you're a good person now, there's just this side of her that can't let that go. The CROAT and his people arrive. Maggie puts a knife to Negan's throat. Pearlie takes Ginny back to, I thought was New Babylon, but I think that's actually the place where Pearlie's from. It's the Hilltop 2, whatever you want to call that. And the CROAT tells Negan the story of finding him and the story of the widow, and tells Maggie, you found him and brought him home. Negan says to Maggie to, look after Ginny. That's all he asks. And then the CROAT brings out Herschel. Negan tells Herschel, it's good to see you, kid. And Maggie hugs Herschel, although Herschel really doesn't seem too happy about the whole situation. Like, he could care less that his mom is there. We're starting to get Herschel from the Walking Dead comic book, which I've never actually read. Actually, I have read just a issue or two, but I've heard so many people talk about it, I might as well have read it at this point. So Pearlie gives a stare at the walkers hanging as he enters the New Babylon district. And then Pearlie tells his people he tracked Negan down, shot him, and killed him. And the woman who he's talking to says it's a shame he had to shoot him. They wanted to put Negan on display. And then she talks about paying Pearlie's girls a visit. So something's not necessarily right about this woman. And she wants Pearlie to tell his story again. But this time she wants him to tell her about the methane. And then Maggie tells Herschel she can't imagine what he went through. And he says he felt safer back there. And he mentions, all you really want, this wasn't about rescuing me. This is about revenge on Negan, is what he's saying to her. And then Maggie actually got Herschel a gift while being kidnapped, an NYC hat. And then Herschel, says again, Maggie was just out for revenge. You're just out for revenge. And then she never sees him. And then Maggie looks at the Statue of Liberty. And I think here she's wondering, did I do the right thing here? Negan, yeah, he was a bad guy, but there's also a lot of things that he does good. And then the CROAT talks about Negan going to the river people. I assume he's talking about the ocean side. And him being a rock star. And, he says Negan saw what he could become. Negan took his time with him, showed patience, and how to do it right. And the CROAT says the old times were beautiful. Took him years to finally understand what happened between them. And he, says, I shouldn't have killed the girl. And I promise you, me not obeying rules and orders and not listening to you, that will never happen again. And then we have Ginny sleeping, and Maggie puts her dinosaur next to her. Maggie goes to Herschel's room. She's thought about what he said, and she doesn't know how. But this thing with Negan, I'm going to finish it so I can just let it go. The CROAT tells Negan that he's the missing piece. Can't wait for you to meet her. And then the CROAT brings Negan to the Doma. She says that she thinks her and the guests should take some time to get acquainted. So she wants the CROAT to leave because I think she thinks the CROAT is kind of an idiot and an imbecile. And she says the CROAT is like a sponge. And she tells Negan to sit, and he says he'd rather stand as he has a cramp in his leg. She tries to give him some brandy, but Negan says he's a gin guy or gin man. And then she talks about the island needs someone with leadership more than ever. And tell me why I would help you. And that's what Negan says to her. And the Dama actually gives Negan some keys and gives him a little box to open with, that it has a key slot in it. And inside this little, chest box, whatever you want to call it, there's a toe inside there. And we find out it's actually Herschel's toe. And the Dama says she kept a little piece of him and she can always go back for more. What she wants is Negan to be the old Negan and be that bad-ass, crazy motherfucker that he was. If he doesn't become that again, then she's going to go after Herschel again. And we have a lot to discuss, a lot to plan for. And there's also a scene, I don't remember quite where this happened at, I didn't write it down, where Maggie's looking at pictures that Herschel drew, and she sees a picture of the Dama that he drew. And it's a very, just looking at that picture that Herschel drew, she looks very sinister. That actress, who did an amazing job on Ozark, is going to be a mainstay on this show for maybe not a few seasons. They'll probably kill her off next season. And then the episode ends with Negan and Maggie like a two-face thing. Negan's face on this side, Maggie's face on this side, and they kind of go together. And that's how it ends. So I was expecting a little bit different of an ending for this season, but if they're going to continue the show, I guess this is the ending I should have expected, which I'm almost 100% sure there's going to be a second season at this point. So as far as my score of the episode, I felt slightly let down, but aside from that, I'm still going to give it an 8.7 out of 10. I mean, this show was really good. I just felt the ending was kind of, to a degree, anticlimactic in my opinion. And my character of the episode, I'm going to give it to the Dama because she was quite creepy. And I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot more about her. And I'm sure there's a lot more to dig in with her character in what her relationship with the doofus CROAT. I think the CROAT is more of a comedy character at this point. I thought he was going to be like this sadistic guy, and he just wants his old leader back, his old boss back. That's all he wants. So you've heard what I have to say. Now it's your turn. Like I said before, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead, Dead City, Fear the Walking Dead, which I do watch, I just don't review. I didn't watch The Walking Dead World Beyond. I have seen the end credits scene that they talk about, and I've seen a few scenes from the show, but I never watched that. So if you want to talk about The Walking Dead World Beyond, I have yet to take a dive into that, and I don't think I will. But obviously, if you want to talk the Daryl Dixon show, the Rick and Michonne show, I'll be covering all that. So make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of The Walking Dead Dead City, or The Walking Dead Dead City in general. What would you rate this episode? And whom, if you had to choose, would be your character of the episode? If you want to talk about the episode, the season in general, that's fine, since we've seen the whole season now. I'm going to put some random Walking Dead videos right here, and here. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. Subscribe to the channel. You're watching the video anyway. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.